Hello everyone. So I'm making this video today because I have been deeply disappointed with how a lot of black women are treating black trans women right now. And this conversation occurred because of Jess Hilarious comments about womanhood, and it's caused a big controversy. But to see the amount of women, black women especially, agreeing with her is just deeply disappointing. And so I have some notes. So if I look down, I'm looking at my notes because I have a lot of thoughts on this and I didn't want to lose any of them in this video. So my first thing I want to deal with is Jess Hilarious. So Jess Hilarious has been problematic for a very long time. I've ignored her. I hope that you do too. She happened to come into popularity when the algorithms were really pushing ignorance, and she's an ignorant person. That it's pretty clear that Jess is not educated on a lot of topics, and that doesn't mean she's less of a person because she's not educated. However, her opinions on certain topics without being educated on them makes her ignorant. And so when you are listening to someone who's very ignorant on something and they form an opinion out of that ignorance, that's a problem. And if you follow that person or agree with that person, you're agreeing with an ignorant opinion. So that's the first thing about Jess, that she's an ignorant person. You can't put it any other way. She doesn't know what she's talking about, especially when it comes to trans women. And then the other thing is, Jess is a comic, but she's a male identified female comic. She does a lot of self-deprecating comedy, and she's very pick-me-ish. And it's low self-esteem. You can see it in her videos. It comes across. So Jess is not what I would call a thought leader. So for you to get behind someone who is ignorant and not a thought leader says a lot about you, and it's disappointing. Like, that's, if you're gonna get behind somebody, pick somebody who is a thought leader. Pick somebody who is educated and who is not ignorant on the subject matter. So that's what I wanted to say about Jess. Let me get that out the way. The next problem is Jess and a lot of other women are trying to gatekeep womanhood. That's how this subject came up. And it's also so problematic because black women have been kept out of womanhood. Historically, we have not been seen as women. We have not been given the opportunity to be autonomous, to own our bodies, which is what trans women are doing. They're being autonomous. They want to own their bodies. They don't want anyone to dictate to them what they can and cannot do with their bodies. And they don't want people dictating what womanhood is for them, which is something that we have already fought for. It's sad because even Maya Angelou's poem, Phenomenal Woman, is about black women claiming our womanhood. Am I not a woman? And to sit here and do exactly like white supremacists and try to gatekeep womanhood is sad. I get very frustrated when I see that, because I'm like, you're behaving like the oppressor. When given the opportunity to do the right thing, black women, you are jumping in to the oppressor's role and trying to gatekeep what can't be gatekeeped. You can't do that. Like, womanhood is not one thing. It is not, just down to the biology. It's not just that. It's more than that. And so to say these things is just deeply disappointing, because you are doing exactly to trans women what white supremacy has done to you. And if anyone can understand what it means to be oppressed, it's black women. Like, you should understand their battle more than anyone else. Yet here you are saying that these people are taking something from you. And that's the other thing. Like, other people's womanhood doesn't take from your womanhood. Like, this is something that it's weird to me. It's the same thing with racism. Like, racist people feel like black people and people of color are taking from them. why do you feel like a transgender woman takes away from your womanhood? Like, you feel like you have some privilege in being a woman that's being taken from you because someone else is a woman too? Make it make sense, because it doesn't. To be this gatekeeper and to feel like something is taken from you because someone else is a woman too is just crazy, and it has to stop. It's like I said, I'm just deeply disappointed in that. But then we have to get to the next topic, which is this claim that female is biology. You know, it's only two genders and biology, and so many people who, oh gosh, that have never studied biology in their lives are jumping up to say it's biology. It's not. You don't know what you're talking about. First of all, there are more than two genders. You can look it up. There are science books to explain this. There are more than two genders. There are more than two combinations of XY chromosomes. There's not just XY. There's not just XX. There are multiple combinations of chromosomes. That's biology. That's genetics. You can study this. You can look this up. It is not just, you know, the body parts that you're born with. It's not just your organs that you're born with. Some people on the outside look one way and on inside have the opposite sexual organ. This is true. They're called intersex. There's more than one gender. So all the people who are jumping up to say it's biology, you're completely wrong, and you don't know what you're talking about. And it's disgusting that you're trying to use something that you don't even understand to oppress others. So let's stop doing that as a whole, please. If you jump up and say biology, I immediately know you're an ignorant person. So just don't do that. So let me get back to my notes. Oh, and the other thing is the people who are reducing womanhood to just being able to menstruate and have babies. You do realize that when you, especially as a woman, reduce womanhood to just making children, to just menstruating, you're reducing yourself. But at the same time, you're excluding women who don't menstruate, which does happen, and you're excluding women who can't have kids. So you're saying the woman who can't have children is not a woman, which is not true. And it's disgusting that you're reducing yourself to just a baby making machine. Like, are you more than that? Is your womanhood just the fact that you can produce children? Because I don't think it is. But if that's what you think of yourself, that's really sad. And then, let's see, what was my other notes? Oh, the other thing is people are really upset about the term cis. I want to point out that cis is not an identity. It is not an identity. It is a term used. It is just a term used to explain why people who are born with a certain and assigned at birth, they're assigned at birth a certain sex, and then they identify as that sex. Now, that doesn't mean that it's an identity. It's not. Okay, your identity is I identify as female, I identify as a woman, you know, I identify as a heterosexual. That is an identity. Cis is not an identity, and a lot of people are getting caught up on the term cis. Cis is not an identity. If you don't want to use the word cis, you don't have to, but it's just a descriptive term. So let's get away from trying to make it seem like cis is a bad term. It's not. It applies to men and women, and all it means is that the person who was, whatever you were assigned, and you didn't choose. Remember, you're assigned a gender at birth. You didn't choose that. So it's not your identity. It just means that once you were assigned it and you grew up, you did identify with that. So that's what cis means. And I don't think a lot of people are catching that cis is not an identity. It's just a term, just so people can understand, oh, you know, I was born this way and I identify this way. So lastly, I want to talk about why transphobia is most detrimental to Black women. I gotta point out that the first thing that racists do when it comes to Black women is call us men. It is transphobic, it is racist, and it is sexist, but it happens all the time. It happened to Michelle Obama, it's happened to Serena Williams. It is a constant factor for Black women. In fact, in Indiana this month, a Black woman was killed because a white supremacist said she was a man. This transphobia is dangerous rhetoric to us. So if you participate in it as a black woman, you are putting yourself in danger. And it's crazy because Jess Hilarious has been called a man multiple times, and she's using the rhetoric, and now that same rhetoric is being used against her. This is something that I want black women to understand, that when you use transphobic language, you are using the language of racist, sexist, patriarchal, white supremacists. So I think that's it, y'all. I'm gonna try to get this video together and get it up soon, but please educate yourself around gender and gender identity. It is not too sexist, so go read about that. Understand that womanhood is not just being able to make babies, and if you think that, please think better of yourself. And cis is not a negative term, and you don't have to use it, but it is not a negative term. It's not an identity. And please protect all black women, including trans women. Peace, y'all.